very much. So, just as a brief introduction, this is EndCycle, voxel generation. We have our lead developer here, Gal. He is going to be presenting on this game today, while Methodical is going to be doing some gameplay of the what's playable here. So I will turn it over to him.
Hi guys, I'm the lead developer of EndCycle, and yeah, EndCycle is basically, at least I like to call it, the spiritual successor to the Mega Man Battle Network series. And yeah, let's get going, shall we?
Sure. So first off, I'm just going to be running through, there's a quick story intro for the demo here, and you can talk about that if you like.
Well, I mean, let's let it speak for itself for a bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so what we have here is basically the bell, which is also the thing that probably references Bell Network the most at the moment. As you can see, the battlefield resembles Bell Network ones, with the exception of the field actually having grid tiles as well. And on the grid tiles, as he just mentioned, both enemies and allies can move. Maybe I should mention a bit of how, or rather, information about EndCycle. EndCycle will be released in summer, July 2017 approximately. But before that, we'll also have a Kickstarter in January. And as soon as the Kickstarter goes live, you will also be able to play a demo of it. The game will also be available for PC, Linux, and Mac, and there will also be an Android port coming out at a later time point.
So I noticed during that battle there that there was a feature called Crush. Could you explain that?
Okay, well, basically, during Bell, when an enemy or you yourself get hurt enough, you basically get crushed. Which means that the opposing party, so if you crush an enemy by hitting it enough, then your voxel strike gauge at the top, so the gauge that can define when you can attack, basically fills up, and you can just mash all your buttons to attack the enemy as much as you want to during that time. So it's basically a reward for being persistent with your attacks.
Okay, very nice.
And also, as you may have noticed, you can heal yourself as soon as the bar regenerates, and to offset that, you yourself also have a crouch gauge, which means that you also have to evade enemy attacks, otherwise you'll be crushed and you'll probably die.
So getting crushed yourself is very detrimental. Is it a lot easier to get crushed if there are more enemies on the field, or has that not been implemented yet?
Well, you only have to take a certain amount of damage. So if there are more enemies, of course you'll be taking more damage and get crushed more easily. But to offset that, in the game, you'll also notice later, there are actually stats compared to Bell Network system where you didn't really have an attack or a defense stat. With EndCycle, you also have an attack stat which increases the amount of damage that you deal. Then you have a defense stat, which of course blocks off damage when you get hit. Then you have a speed stat that defines how fast you can attack, and the resistance stat. And basically, the resistance stat defines how much damage you need to take until you get crushed.
Noticing this part of the game here now, he is currently studying. What is he studying right now?
He's currently studying the technology behind the voxel generators, also known as the thing that makes bells even possible. See, in EndCycle, there's a thing called a voxel generator, and this is basically a machine that lets you create any object, but only for a temporary amount of time. So, like, say if you have a toast and you want to spread some jam on it, but you forgot your knife, you can just voxel generate that knife and it will disappear as soon as you don't need it anymore. And yes, he's basically studying that right now because Finn wants to go to a university soon.
What does the title EndCycle refer to?
EndCycle actually refers to, well, it's a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't mind, it's more of a thing that will be introduced later on in the story. So for now, I'll just say when you play the story of the full game, at a later time point, it will be disclosed what EndCycle actually means.
That's fair. Okay.
There is a fair amount of foreshadowing, as far as I can tell, in the demo.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I don't know if Method's trying to do a talk to everyone before the story can progress sort of thing, or if he's just trying to get some specific items to progress.
It's a little of both.
Gotcha.
Basically, in Everett, at the moment, it's gift day, and it's basically a day where you give gifts. It's basically like our Christmas, but it's not really Christmas, it's just gift day. And before, he was just collecting the gifts from his house, and now he's distributing them to all of his friends.
So I noticed when I was looking over the EndCycle Tumblr,
Yeah.
and I noticed on the earlier sprites, one of the very first sprites, very similar to a Pokemon sprite like Ruby, Sapphire, and then as it evolved through the various development cycles, it's come to this point. So was your inspiration of the sprite work based on Pokemon?
The very first inspiration for the sprite was Pokemon, yes. That's because of the game's roots, but also because at that point it was still developer art, and basically I did all the art myself up until like half a year ago. But the sprites, all of them should kind of they shouldn't resemble Pokemon, but they do bear a resemblance to them anyway.
Right. It's going to be an
like,
overworld RPG, sort of.
Exactly. But like still be unique on its own.
I really like the weather effect.
Thank you. With like the turbo boots, it's only a reference to games like Pokemon where you have to obtain an item in order to run. So they don't actually do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the boots were funny, so I wanted to show off the description.
You can also get chicken wings.
Chicken
Whoops.
wings to
Yes,
eat.
I just spoiled that.
That's okay.
Here they are.
6 of them. I didn't know you were gonna get 6 of them though.
Well, I guess Neil is a pretty wealthy man. And as to Amshield's question about if you can heal his Pokemon during Bell, no, you can't heal your Pokemon during Bell with potions. You can heal yourself outside of Bell in either the Voxel Clinic or just basically tea. All of the medicine items are tea based.
The map, the mini map at the top right is a pretty nice touch. I like it.
Thank you.
So, you got the top right. You've got something that says Capsule CPS10.
Yes.
Is that just aesthetic? Does it mean anything?
It's actually just an edgy name I wanted to give it to it because I thought to myself like, oh, can you stop for a moment? Press the L button to talk to yourself. Did you just notice when you said Adam, like Adam actually reacted to it?
Yeah, that's cool.
No one will ever notice that, so I had to stop you there just to show that feature off because I'm very proud of it. But CPS is just an edgy name, and it stands for Central Pinpoint System 10, compared to our General Pinpoint System, or GPS.
Okay. Its own little name there. Nice.
So it's not anything really relevant.
Is the minimap icon inspired by Undertale?
Everyone like says that the position symbol looks like the Undertale heart. It's not. It's if I can like uncover a bit of a developer secret, the symbol for the minimap position is actually just the same symbol you'll see when you debuff an enemy, besides the debuff stat itself.
Interesting.
That's a way to reuse graphics.
So,
And yeah,
go ahead.
I just wanted to say that this is like the second bell, and as you can see, every bell has a different play field, where before you had also the neutral tiles, the gray tiles. Here, this is basically a field that you could also see in Bell Network, where it only consists of allied and enemy tiles.
So in voxel generation, you're generating your own. I'm just kind of making up what I think is happening. You're generating your own avatars to fight on these battlefields.
Well,
and do these attacks. That's what I'm guessing, but you explain it better than I do, so go for it.
well, basically, you're not generating the avatar. Finn and Adam, up until now, were always only playing a game. But after the prologue, you actually bell as Finn himself. So, in person, and he generates the cannons or whatever weapons he needs to fight.
Oh.
Yeah.
How was this game developed? Someone's asking if it was developed with Unity.
It was developed using Java and the libgdx game framework. So it's and yeah, since it's Java, it can run on any system. But it's all been coded. Yeah.
Nice. Picture.
Also, this picture has a funny story behind it, because our story writer actually drew the picture by hand and sent it to me, and I took paint and I made it so it would look like a little kid has drawn it. Well, if I'm looking at chat, we actually use Java because the first programming language that I learned was Java, and I personally dislike Unity, so that's why I've always preferred it over that, and it's basically what I've grown up with in the world of coding.
So, someone's asking how much the game costs.
Since we'll have a Kickstarter, it's still a bit too early to say for sure, but we're planning for the Kickstarter tier that will actually include the game to cost $15, and yeah, the full game will then probably cost 20, which is a lot, but it's a fully fleshed out RPG, so yeah.
So stuff's exploding.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
What's currently happening in the story is that Finn's hometown, Everard, is being blown up by the notorious Azure Shield.
So this guy's talking about Crimson Force. I read a little bit about it, but why don't you explain it?
Well, basically, in the game, there are two groups of people, Crimson Force and Azure Shield. And basically, both groups are trying to stop rampaging machines, known as Gaudius, from killing everyone, basically. But Azure Shield wants to destroy the Gaudius using Gaudius themselves, which could result in many, many people dying. So Crimson Force wants to stop Azure Shield from doing that.
Do you get a choice on which faction you can join, or is that spoiler territory?
Well, you actually, as you could see right now, Azure Shield, it was Azure Shield's fault for Finn's hometown being blown up. So Finn will join Crimson Force. Or will he? Well, you'll see that in the story. It's not a make your own story though, so the story's laid out for you. It's a linear story.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we can see right away that a lot more menu options have opened up to us. Oops. One second.
Okay.
It's my bad.
The game crash right now?
I think that one was my bad. I don't know what I did though. It's still very early, so bear with us for a second. Okay.
In the meantime, there was a question from the chat about who drew the nature, who did the artwork for the game.
The artwork for the environment has been done by Gisela Nielsen, our environmental pixel artist. So currently there are 6 people, including me, working on the game. We have one developer, so that's me, a composer, Miles Hudson. Then we have the story writer, Daniel Donna, and we have the pixel artist for the environments, Gisela Nielsen. And then we have the sprite artist, which is just called Fish. I don't know her last name. And we also have an animator. And yeah, but at the moment we're currently missing animators, so if anyone wants to help make this game a success, to contact us. Either on our Discord or Tumblr.
So in this post-game, post-demo, how long until the demo is going to be available?
The demo will release along the Kickstarter in January. Yeah, so basically, This area is the post-game area, as it was mentioned, the post-demo area. And here you can basically look for so-called noises. And noises are basically our way of our random encounters. You can encounter them everywhere in the world. And basically the noise gauge on the bottom right of the screen gets lower as you come closer to a noise, and the moment you have encountered a noise, you get into a random battle with it.
So when it gets like pixely and stuff, that's when you notice there's a random encounter coming up, and then
Yep.
you decrypt.
So it's not really random since you define when you want to actually get into a fight. I also have to say that the enemy you encounter is not random. It's like fixed who you will encounter, because there you can find certain enemies only on certain spots. So I can see that you're hunting the cannon right now. The cannon, in this case, you have no way of knowing this, but since I'm a developer, I can spoil a little secret. Cannons can be found either east of the desert or north in the grassy area.
Nice. So what kind of enemy was that?
That was a couch.
Okay.
Noises are basically data lying around, scattered around the air, that forms itself into random objects and basically damages humans. And that's why there are also people who dedicate themselves to destroying noises, or rather erasing them. And yeah, basically. So a noise can be really anything you can imagine. It can either be a cannon, a sofa, it can even be, I don't know, a Pegasus made out of ice cream.
It's getting into Earthbound territory.
Some of the enemies are really Earthbound inspired. We have we also plan to have a man in a suit with like a bubble blow thingy as his head. So yeah, we can't wait till we can like implement further enemies into the game.
Well, they're gonna be fun to draw in any case.
And hopefully fun to battle against.
One of the questions from chat: will there be special mechanics for bosses instead of just special attacks?
Some bosses might utilize certain special. Some bosses will utilize special attacks, which will change up the mechanic a lot. But there are some bosses during which there will actually be dialogue, where the battle will stop for a few seconds in order for the enemy and Finn to exchange, I don't know, like a few short phrases before battle continues. Also, for Linda's question, I did not. Well, we don't really use a database. We only use JSON to store our files. Also, yeah. How are we with time? Okay, still have enough time left, but because you can actually go to the gauntlet area to showcase most of the fights if like people want to see other enemies.
Sure, I can go there next.
So we've got level 1, level 2. I'm guessing that's how much of the top bar that it's using there. So
Precisely. There are also level 3, 4, and 5 attacks.
And this game, I saw on your page, on the Tumblr page, that instead of the QE backspace, the spacebar there for the buttons, you could also use ABXY if you're using a controller. Does that mean this game is controller compatible?
The game is controller compatible. Are you playing it with the keyboard? Because you can actually like set the controls for everything.
I'm
And you can
actually
also
playing with
set-
controller at the moment.
Okay. Yes, the game is controller compatible with any controller, and you can also set the button tips to display controller tips and not just keyboard ones.
Okay. From what it sounded like, the demo would be made available in January.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody was asking again. Someone is asking, what's the gray area in the middle of the combat field?
Okay. The gray area is basically fields that can be accessed by both you and the enemy. The orange ones are strictly for you and your allies, and the blue ones are strictly for the enemy.
So you have the 4 different customizations at the bottom, just those 4 available things. Is there going to be any way to, like, in the middle of battle, customize that in case there's much long battles?
Well, you actually have 3 of those sets. If Method would like access the packs menu, here you can see the customization menu. You have 3 sets of attacks. He currently has set his default set to 1, so he'll start out with set number 1 while playing, but he can at any moment switch with the shoulder buttons to the other 2 sets and use the attacks from that set.
Nice. Will there be other playable characters besides
other playable characters? During this act, no. So for the rest of Voxel Generation, EndCycle, you'll actually only be playing as Finn.
I'm not answering that question. Let me see if I can think of another one. Oh, you mentioned you needed help with if you're looking for help with the game. What specifically, like, what kind of help are you looking for with the game? Spoilers, testers, coders, debuggers?
We're specifically looking for animators for the bell, because as you might have seen, we do not have any bell animations whatsoever. And I can see that Method now accessed the stream gauntlet preview, and here it's basically only to show off all of the different attacks that you can gain through leveling up. So yeah, he can now use all of the attacks that you would normally obtain when you're at the maximum level in all of the so-called roles that you can have.
The tag fights. I don't know what meant by tag fights, but do you have any kind of implementation for any tag fights in the game?
Tag
Probably
fights.
Like Mega Man Battle Network 5.
There will actually there's actually a fight in which you also have a noise on your side of the field. It's the final fight preview. So the very last fight you can actually see. You can have noises on your side of the field, but that feature will not really occur often. So for most of the fights you actually only have a signal. You're on by yourself for most of the fights.
One of the guys one of the people in chat asked about, with regards to the looking for positions. You mentioned that you're going to put this on Kickstarter. Does that mean some of the positions are going to be paid for as well?
Come again?
Let me see if I can work this better. You mentioned a Kickstarter. Does that mean there are paid positions for like working?
Oh, right. Well, there is a Kickstarter, but that's basically to cover the money for the team. Because as of now, we're all basically working on this for revenue share. So at the moment, no one in the team is being paid, and we need the Kickstarter because of that. Because, yeah, we can't just work for free until the game comes out.
Right. Imagine that's more of a personal question, but you know, that's what you're comfortable answering, so.
It's okay, it's okay. It's actually important because if anyone need to know that at the moment we can't afford to pay them.
Understood. So, and of course, if anybody does want to join the team, you can contact Gal via Twitter or via the Discord. Find the information on his Tumblr page, which we've linked in chat a couple times here.
Also, shout out to Omega Terumi because I haven't seen him in a long time. Hi, nice of you for dropping by. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, this is kind of going off the demo, outside the demo, but what are your favorite battle chips to use in the Battle Network series that you might want to implement? Yes.
Okay, one of the chips that I'm actually gonna take over entirely is the Spear Ring from Battle Network 6. The one where you basically drop water spears onto the enemy. But aside from, because that one will also change the panels to water, and you can combo that with Neo Block, which are the attacks in the game, that basically attacks all water panels with thunder damage and removes them. But there are like also a lot of new field play options. In the current build, there is not really much more than just broken or cracked tiles and normal tiles. But in the final game, there will actually be a multitude of different fields.
What kind of fields are you talking here? Like with similar? Ooh.
I forgot they did that.
You die.
Happened to me a lot during this battle.
Alright.
Those
Take it
guys
a
kind
little
of just
slower.
suicide themselves, or?
Precisely,
Yeah.
they basically commit Sudoku after you hit them 6 times. So you should attack them with high damage attacks instead of multiple hitting attacks or weak attacks, because that way you can crush them more easily. And yeah.
Okay, 2 questions that came up here. One of them was more of a mention, something about Death Stare. And EndCycle.
Oh right. Death Stare is basically a very overpowered attack and inside joke that we've had in our class. Whereas I was showing off the game and a friend of mine wanted me to implement an attack. It's basically like the... how's it called? I think the sarcophagus bell chip. I'm not sure if that's what it's called. But it basically poisons every enemy in the same row as you.
In the same row, okay. Because that's similar to like Poison Pharaoh in
Yeah, Poison
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
Okay. And then the second one was if enemies are going to, how enemies are going to be changing through the game. If they're going to be reskins, stronger versions of their characters, or if they're just going to be added attacks, or how are you going to do it?
They're gonna be both. We'll have stronger versions of old enemies as you get stronger yourself and throughout the journey. But there will also be biome-based ones where it's like if you're still at Aberod after the explosion, you'll still actually see many enemies that are based on snow, such as the Ice Cream Pegasus, or I don't know, other water type enemies. And later on in the game, in a crater for example, you might find more fire enemies. But there will also be elemental changes to the enemy, so you'll have enemies that are that change element instead of powering up.
Okay. Probably just a really quick question. Will contributors get mentioned in the credits, probably for your Kickstarter?
The contributors will all get mentioned in however form I can mention them, because I think that the entire team is very important to the project, not just myself.
Someone noticed the noise feature. If there's a reason that noise is doing in-game damage to you, is there a reason for that?
Noises are basically random data clustered together through the air. But the reason for people getting damaged by noises is still unknown. So in the game, no one really knows what noises are or why they cause damage to the human body if not disposed of.
Oh wow, this is like a 3x3 plus 2 more.
These are the worst. These are actually the worst.
Are these like your dash G enemies?
Yeah.
Yes. Now thinking about it, I should have maybe nerfed them a bit.
I'll be
with
okay.
the outburst, fuck, it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah, just smash outburst. Fine.
These guys are why I have outburst.
Like
they're... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
There was another question. Are there ballots in this game?
That's not a gaming term. Those are just my people. They're messing with me.
Okay. Will it be possible to...
No, that's also a trick question.
I read that too slow.
It's okay.
Okay. Will there be, if you remember Battle Network 4,
Yes?
there's these sheep
Yeah?
called Molokos. Are they going to be in this game?
Well, I can implement enemies that are similar, but I don't want to actually implement anything that will resemble Battle Network 1-to-1, because I want EndCycle to be a different game and not actually.
That's fine. It's fine. I just love those things, so.
Yeah, I'll look to it. Maybe we can find a cheap excuse to put them into the game.
Oh, this looks like a fun fight.
Before anyone in chat says anything, I do have panel grab in my set. I just...
Just haven't switched over to a
It's
different
not that
set.
easy, okay?
So when you switch over to another set, does that reset to the top bar?
No. I can definitely... Oh, maybe I don't have panel... You know what? Stay still.
You just have dead end basically called Desolation.
Oh, they can
Also,
walk
a
on the
chapter
cracks.
sword does not... Yeah, you got crushed.
They
That's
can walk
basically
on the
instant
cracks.
death.
I wasn't
So it
prepared.
costs money to retry, or you just take a game over, is what it looks like.
Cost
Yep.
data.
And data is basically earned through enemies. You can actually go to the voxel clinic and convert your data into either money or experience points, depending on what you want or what you need. So that means that if you at the moment are saving up for something, then you might not want to level up as quick, so you convert all your data that you get from enemies into money instead of experience points.
Do you have an official name for Ice Cream Pegasus?
Ice Cream Pegasus' official name is Alexander,
Excellent.
and yeah, my girlfriend came up with the design, and it's awesome. And she's currently watching. Shout out to Van. Oh, one even asked that question. Cheeky.
Just out of curiosity, have you played Rockman 4.5?
I have, and
Okay.
it was a large inspiration for the segmentation of the Strike God.
Yeah, because somebody mentioned it reminded them of that. It kind of reminded me of that too. Just how you can pick the different chips and such. And
But I thought that like 3 bars weren't enough, so I had to make it 5.
will there be an attack to charm enemies?
Will there be an attack to charm enemies? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. There will be an attack where an enemy does not know your position anymore, but really actively stops fighting you. There will not be one. Also, as you can see up until now, the field itself is also variable. It's not limited to the 6x3 grid, and as we can see here, there can also be very big fields, which makes the bell a lot more chaotic and very hard to follow. But this also means that you can implement co-op play more easily.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about this one.
So basically, if I were to comment every single thing that's happening here,
It's killing him.
Yeah, for this I suggest that you use the untouchable block. Oh no, what is happening? Okay,
Oh, no.
what I have to mention is all the enemies started going into frenzy because the resistor at the back panel got crushed.
So I'm normally used to fighting like 3, maybe 4 enemies max.
Yes,
Battle
I just
Network.
wanted to have a little show off for the stream where I show off that you can fight very many enemies and on a very big field.
So speaking of this difficulty, will there be a hard mode of any kind?
Maybe a new game plus after clearing the game, but nothing is set in stone yet. So the game will always run on the same difficulty in order to ensure that every player has the same experience, even if their skill levels might differ.
Okay. I know in Battle Network 5 they had the nebula holes that you could open up in the post game where you could increase the difficulty of the viruses and such. So, but there might be a new game plus afterwards. That'll be up to you entirely. But just curious. And how are you surviving this?
That's a good question. I'd like to know.
You'll be crushed any moment now, though. So
Yeah, there we go.
Looks like you got a couple more minutes left, Gaul. So if you have any final thoughts, and chat, if you have any final questions. Oh, there was one. Will there be any in-game challenge modes?
in-game challenge modes, not precisely, but if you look in the start menu, you can actually see that there is actually a memory option. And in the memory option, you can basically battle any noise spell that you already were battling against at one point. But it's only like a memory of it, so it does not actually give you any loot or anything else other than you gaining experience battling against that one noise. So if you want a challenge, you can basically collect memory data from bosses or enemies and battle against that again.
Okay, last two questions I'm going to take here, and then I'm going to close questions and let you close up on the final thoughts here.
Okay.
One question, just as far as the difficulty again, I guess this looks ridiculously difficult for some people that are a little intimidated by this. Will there be any way to reduce the difficulty?
Okay, now this final fight really is just to scare people from how difficult this game would be, because fights like these will not occur in the actual game. So you shouldn't expect this type of difficulty in the actual final product.
Okay. And are there any plans for multiplayer?
We're not sure yet. It depends on the time that we have and how much money we get from Kickstarter. Because multiplayer would be very time-consuming to implement and balance. So, but we're looking into that very much because of the whole active system that we have, where compared to Bell Network, you don't have to wait for anyone. You can actually bell much easier against another person. So we would like to have multiplayer, but it depends on the time we have.
That's fine. And maybe you can even make that as a stretch goal for your Kickstarter too.
Yeah.
All depends on your plans.
Also, good job on the.
I did kind of cheat a little. I'm level 99.
That's fine. You beat him anyway. Fair and square.
Did you cheat?
I might have cheated a little bit.
Because you have all of the perks for the elements equipped.
Yes.
Just don't look at the.
You can do that.
Hey, that's cheating.
That's not the game. It's within the confines of the game. I can just do it.
Okay.
All right.
That's actually a bug that
Okay.
I forgot to fix. And now I feel ashamed of myself.
I only had heat body on.
Someone asked if the game is gonna be a one-time release. No, it's actually gonna be patched all the time, so don't worry.
Any final thoughts before we close up here? Go.
Well, others than I hope I got all of you guys interested in the game. Not really.
Okay. So this again has been EndCycle voxel generation. I'll let Mr. Flo talk about that privately with Gall here, and you can see on that you can see more information on his Tumblr at endcycle.tumblr.com, I'm guessing. And the demo will be released in January sometime for you guys to play it and test it out. And there'll probably be an associated Kickstarter with that too. If you have any interest in joining the team, please contact him directly. He is the lead developer for this project. And so thank you again for joining us. And thank you, Methodical, for doing the gameplay for this. It's kind of creepy how they all blink at the same time. So that's all. So thanks for doing this stream.
And thanks for having me.
Of course.
Perfect. Thanks for letting us do this and dropping by.
Thanks.
I definitely enjoyed playing it. I'm looking forward to the demo.
I can't wait either. So, yeah.